Cash Converters. We buy, we sell, we loan cash.
Now, over the last couple of months, we've really seen the diverse range of things you can find at Cash Converters, from electronics to your outdoor equipment. But today, it's something different because we're taking a look at things that you wouldn't normally expect to find at Cash Converters. Let's call it the antiques of the future. And I'm meeting up with Jeremy. He's the owner of the old corkscrew in Franschhoek to see if we can spot a good deal. Jeremy, how's it, man?
Good morning, nice to see you.
Yeah. So today, very interesting. We're looking at things that you wouldn't normally expect to find at Cash Converters.
Well, today we thought we would focus on something that I like to call antiques of the future. These are items that are commonly available right now, but in time to come, there's something that will make them extremely valuable. And that is what we're going to explore today.
Well, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by antiques of the future. You're going to have to show me.
I might shock you a bit, but let's go and have a look and see what we can find.
All right.
This is what I'm talking about. Here we have a normal selection of kettles that you're going to find in Cash Converters, but there's one here that stands out.
That's a kettle?
This is a kettle. Now, this is by a company, there we go, it's marked underneath, Alessi, made in Italy. Now, Alessi were, and still are today, makers of high-quality kitchenware. It pushed the design of kettles so far that the people who were buying Alessi at the time took one look and said no, they didn't want to go there. And consequently, it was known as an Alessi fiasco. In other words, it was something that was so far ahead of its time, it never sold. But today, that is a cult classic that is going to be worth a lot of money in the years to come.
Now, today, what would you say that kettle is worth?
It's difficult to put a spot figure on it at the moment, bearing in mind that when it first came on the market, it would have sold for between 100 and 150 pounds in the UK, which was where the market was aimed at the time. I would think that in 10 to 15 years' time, maybe 10 to 15,000 rand. Presently, anything from 3 to 6.
Awesome. So let's have a look.
See what we can find at this Cash Converters, eh? Oh, it's actually quite fun, eh?
This is something you don't see every day.
Hey, look at that. You know what this is?
What is this?
This is a corkscrew that opens a bottle of wine with a piece of string.
Now, based on your knowledge, what can you tell me about that?
Okay, this is one of the most unusual corkscrews that we find. It is the only corkscrew that we know about that opens a bottle of wine using a piece of string.
Wow.
Very straightforward. It was invented by a Frenchman for his wife to help her open bottles of wine. And what he did was he came up with a way of using a pulley mechanism inside this corkscrew to facilitate taking the cork out of the bottle.
Okay, so potentially, if you do get your hands on one of those, what could it sell for?
In the American market today, anything from $150 to $250.
You serious?
Yeah. So they really are worthwhile hunting down, and they turn up in places like Cash Converters. Right, let's see what else we can find here.
Check here.
Hey, fantastic. Look at this. Now, this is the kind of thing that I was talking about. This was a bayonet that was used literally in the trenches. It's dated 1907, and the maker is Wilkinson. All of that is stamped on the back. And this was made for the British Army. It has British Army proof marks on it. And today, it has a large collecting base. A lot of people collect this kind of militaria. And these are difficult things to find anywhere. But here's one, in Cash Converters.
That's amazing. It just goes to show, I mean, you can find the most incredible things in Cash Converters. You just need to have a sharp eye and a bit of knowledge.
Absolutely. And if you've got that, those antiques of the future, they're out there in your future.
Nice.
Never underestimate the hidden treasures in Cash Converters. What you may have never expected to find could be waiting to be discovered at a Cash Converter store near you.
So those are antiques of the future, and that's exactly what we're talking about today with Jeremy Astfalck, who's also the chairman of the South African Antique Dealers Association. He's been in the business since 1980, doing it for a long time, sir.
That we have.
So we're
Thank you
talking
for
about
having me.
these unique items. What puts an item in this category of antiques of the future?
Okay, well, basically, we're talking about items that have a strong design component. They were quality made. And when they came on the market firstly, and it can be as much as 10, 20 or 30 years ago, they really outcompeted their competitors. They had that little extra something.
Yeah.
Whether it was a design component, whether it was the fact that the quality of the manufacturing was so good, those are the kind of things that are going to ensure that they're going to become antiques of the future.
Yeah, I tend to think I've got a bit of an eye for something like that because I used to collect stuff at my grandmother's house and store it in a little corner thinking one day that's going to be worth something. So I'd probably just go and raid her house again, just find those items
Well,
again.
it's the kind of things that do turn up, and I mean places like Cash Converters is where we find them. We're going to start something like this. We have a 9-carat gold lighter. This was hallmarked in London in 1953. Very strong design, flip up top, flipped over. These are the kind of things that were made out of precious metals at the time. A lot of time and trouble went into the manufacturing of them, and in time they're going to become basically very sought after by collectors as antiques of the future.
Wow. Do they necessarily have to be in good working order for them to qualify?
It definitely helps. I mean, the better the condition, obviously the higher the price.
Yeah.
And that's exemplified in the camera that we brought in. We brought in a Bolex Palliard. Now, this was one of the first 16mm cameras that came out and was used for home use. You'd film your pets doing their thing, you'd film the kids, you'd get it out and basically you'd wind it up, you'd put your film in this side. This has got a really good extension lens, so you could probably, you know, sort of film things on the other end of the garden. You'd wind it up and you'd have basically 28 seconds of filming. And out of that 28 seconds of filming, you would then basically make your home movies.
Are these the ones that would record without any sound, or would they have sound?
At the time, these didn't have sound, but there were later versions that did have sound that came in. This was one of the earlier versions done in 1956, and the sound came in actually on the model after this. And we get the model number from inside. They actually give a model number, and today it's very easy to research them because those model numbers give us exactly what they had when they were first issued. A lot of them had extra components, like this lens, for example, wasn't on the originals. You would have had the smaller lens. So it's quite nice to have, you know, those kind of sort of additions on the piece.
And obviously it helps having the original packaging too.
Definitely. The original packaging, the bipod that this came from, they're all there, and that adds to the quality of the overall piece that we're going to collect and obviously in later years to come sell.
Tell us about these very unique posters you've bought for us.
Okay, well, being Women's Day today, we decided to go and find something that was really, really quite special. These are posters that were put out by political parties. This one was put out by the ANC to commemorate the formation of the Women's Federation, the 30th anniversary. Now, it was actually published in Australia when the ANC was still in exile. And what they've done is they've taken Oliver Tambo's quote and they put it onto the bottom. And these were powerful symbols of communicating something like this event that weren't shown by the government of the day.
Yeah. Wow.
Moving on, we have this one, which is probably the most important one that we've ever come across. And this was the original poster that was designed by Judy Stedman with the Medu Art Ensemble, which were based in Botswana. It was designed in 1981, and basically this commemorates the 1956 march, where 20,000 women of all ages and races gathered and marched on the Union buildings in Pretoria.
And this is the original
This is the original poster that was used to publicize that, to mobilize people out of the townships to go and actually take part in that march.
Wow.
Led by Helen Joseph and the other ladies who were in charge on the day. They had a song that was made to commemorate the event. And those words are actually here. That's correct.
Wow. Unbelievable. As the words right there say it on this poster.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff.
Now, I mean, a poster like this is much like the women in our country today. It's priceless. We can't put a value on it. We know that it's part of our cultural heritage, and on a day like today, it's really nice to celebrate that.
Yeah, definitely. Sir, thank you so much for sharing your treasures with us.
My pleasure.
Really, really appreciate it, and I think that Jeremy summed it up perfectly. They're saying our women in our country, treasures priceless. You can't put a value on them. Happy Women's Day to you out there. We'll see you after the break.
Are you self-motivated, organized, retail-hungry, and ready to make some money? Would you like to own a business with multiple revenue streams? Imagine minimal startup costs, a proven business model with low risk with 360-degree ongoing support. Cash Converters is calling. Join the world's leading cash and asset converter now. Cash Converters offers you an affordable business opportunity with high returns on your investment with all the support you need. To find out more, call Niels on 087 820 4066. Cash Converters. We buy, we sell, we loan cash.